guys, welcome back to Vertical Momentum. I'm your host, Richard Kaufman, also known as the Comeback Coach. Yes, you're seeing me for the seventh time today. Thank you, Monster Energy, for keeping me motivated and pumped up. And also, this episode is sponsored by my brand new #1 book on Amazon, the podcast Blueprint. I'm going to give you an offer. If you buy the book for $30, you're going to get over $1,000 in bonuses, and we'll talk about it at the end. But guys, I want to talk with my friend Marcos. I've been on his podcast, amazing podcast, one of my favorite podcasts, and we're going to be talking about sobriety. We're going to be talking about mindset, and we're going to be talking about business and how to start a business from $0. So if you stay till the end, we're going to give you 3 things you can do today to help start your business with no money. Yes, I said no money. So my brother, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Thank you for having me on. I'm doing great. I actually just got off a podcast episode earlier, like literally, I would say an hour ago. I just got off a show. So I'm actually glad to be on your show.
I'm so grateful to have you. So first question I have, and as you know, I'm going to write, you'll see me writing stuff down so I don't forget. What is your definition of resiliency?
My definition of resiliency, I guess, over the course of actually learning and the struggles that I've endured in entrepreneurship, to be resilient, I think that would involve sticking to one single business idea and pushing through. And the reason I say that is because I've actually started multiple businesses and got nowhere. And the reason is because I was addicted to shiny object syndrome. Every time I saw a new business opportunity, I would take it. And that's because I would hit the low point in business, because business operates like up and down and up and down. And especially when you're very, very you're first starting out, you're only going to go up and then you're going to go down. And if you can't make it past the down, then you're not going to make it in business. And so for me, learning that the hard way, resilience is being able to stick with one business idea no matter how hard it gets, and believing you're going to make it. And the way you'll know you can make it is if there's someone out there doing what you're doing already. If there's someone out there doing what you're doing already, then you have no excuse to not be able to make it in business. So resilience is just, for me, sticking to a business idea, not changing it. It's going to be hard. Trust me, I'm actually in one of the hardest parts of my business right now where, like I said, I've learned the hard way. So I'm back to square one when it comes to like learning curve. So business is not going to be easy. I think people think business will be easy when they get into it. And then, a good quote someone told me earlier yesterday was like, Mike Tyson says, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. And business, you're going to get punched multiple times. And not physically, but like mentally, spiritually, emotionally. And if you're not ready to withstand that, then you won't develop the resilience. So to me, that is what resilience means to me.
All right. So first of all, I want to congratulate you on being 17 months sober, because being an entrepreneur, a lot of times it can want to cause you to drink. So I want to give you big props for that. But the hardest thing that I see, I celebrated 35 years. You're sober, but you're also a bartender.
Correct.
And so, obviously 17 months, it gets a little bit easier, but those first couple months in sobriety while working behind a bar could not have been very easy. So the first question is why did you decide to get sober in the first place?
So the reason I decided to get sober in the first place, let me just make this very, very clear. Growing up, I hated alcohol completely, like 100% hated alcohol. But my friends, they loved it. So it's something that was it was something that like there really wasn't much entrepreneur friends for me to hang out with. So I had the friends that I had. They were good friends. They all had habits of drinking alcohol, or they all wanted alcohol. They all wanted to experiment. But alcohol wasn't something I liked. It's something that was like a part of my environment that then came into my life. So even all the way up until being a bartender, I wasn't like a really big drinker. I would just drink on the weekends. Then I started my first business, and I still drank on the weekends. I would go out with my girlfriend at the time. We would go out to the bars on the weekends. We would drink, come back, work during the week, and try to grow my business. So I actually had a marketing agency back in 2017 to 2020, and even then in business, I was drinking. So the reason why I'm saying that is because I'm a frame where from back where I was then to where I am now. And so then I would drink, but then COVID hit. I broke up with my girlfriend at the time, moved to Austin, Texas, and then became a bartender. And the reason is because business really got hard. Like we talked about getting punched in the face earlier, business got very, very, very hard. And to me, it was just easier to go get a job. At the point of my business, I was just like, I'm doing all this work. I'm not making that much money. I could just get a job. And when I'm done with when you work a job, when you're done, you're done. You're done for the day or the weekend. In business, when you're working a business, if you build it the wrong way, like I did, you're going to be working in it 24/7. So it's going to take a lot out of you. So I decided to go get a job, and I had two options. I was going to either work at a car dealership or I was going to be a bartender. So there was two paths that I was going to take. I chose to be a bartender because I saw a little bit more free time. I saw that I would have a little bit more free time. And so that's what I did. Little did I know that your environment really shapes who you become. So now I'm in an environment where alcohol is literally served. People are out drinking. I can get it for free. I'm not gonna lie, I can get it for free. Like all I have to do is ask for a shot, and you get shots for free. So I developed a nightlife routine. I was working my bartending job. I was living the nightlife. I would go out literally on my days off with other bartenders, other industry people. We would go to the bars. It was fun. Don't get me wrong. It was like I would say it was like a Wolf of Wall Street type of lifestyle, but you're not making that much money and you're spending all the money that you're making. So I really had like I'm glad that happened because I had a learning phase throughout my life. Like being a bartender taught me a lot about like personal and self-development. So if I didn't go through that phase, I would probably still be trying to start a business while drinking alcohol. And I don't think I would want to be doing that. So remind me your question just so I can make sure I answer it correctly.
Well, first, let's go back to your. We'll start with the marketing agency.
Okay.
Because I realized I've had a bunch of businesses in my life, and a bunch of them had failed, but I failed forward because I've learned from each why I failed at each one of them. So why do you think you failed at being a marketing agency business owner?
So the reason I failed, and I'm gonna be 100%, it all goes back to the shiny object syndrome. And I think alcohol, I'm not gonna lie, like doing like drinking and stuff like that, scrolling social media, all that gives you really big dopamine hits, and we all just want the quick, easy, fast like results. Like, and back to when I was drinking alcohol as a bartender, I was still running my marketing agency. I had a few clients still, but they were going like my motivation and drive was going downhill very, very quickly. The more I drank, the more I went out and partied. That was fun. Posting online for clients, talking with clients, running advertising, boom, boom, boom. All that became like a dreadful task. So the marketing agency, like, I don't even know how to explain it, but like it went downhill due to I would say it went downhill due to like me drinking alcohol very, very, very quickly.
Okay,
And
so now you're bartending, I bartended for a long time. I've learned a lot of social skills from bartending. I know how to talk to people. I know how to listen to people. I learned how to read people's body language. And I equated that to sales down the road. So, what positives have you taken from bartending?
The positive I've taken from bartending, I've always been a people person, so I don't think that that's taught me any more difference how to be a people person. I do think it has taught me to operate well under pressure, because as a bartender, you really have to operate fast, quick, with speed. I'm a speed bartender, so like you just have you have a guest right here. You're trying to take like you're serving this guy. You're trying to hear this guy's order. You got another person over there probably trying to start a fight. You got to also make sure the team that you're working with is strong too, because you're only as strong as your weakest link. So if other people are like drunk, like you're gonna have to pick up their slack. So bartending really taught me how to I would say the biggest thing that I really got from bartending was to be real is how to operate under a high stress environment. Because, and the reason I say that is because fights can break out, like you're having to deal with angry customers, and we're not talking about angry customer that says like, oh man, there's a hair in my food, or there's this. We're talking about angry customers that like when you approach them, they want to fight you now. Like you are the enemy, and your goal is to get these people out of the bar quick, fast, and possible without anything escalating. So it really has given me more thick skin than I had in the past.
Okay, but now also being sober now I think for me, I was able to, if a situation arose, because I was a sober one, I was able to think things through and calm down the situation a lot easier because I don't have beer muscles. They may, but my mind is clear, so I'm able to de-escalate situations. Have you noticed that also?
Honestly, no. I actually noticed because something when I'm drinking, and this is why like drinking I feel is bad for you. When I drink, I really don't care. Like that's just how my mind operates. Like for instance, if there's like a beautiful girl, if I'm single and there's a beautiful girl, I'm more likely to go talk to her with a few drinks inside of me. If there's a fight about to break out, I'm more likely to want to get involved with the fight because like I'm drinking. Being sober actually like puts me back to like I'm trying to figure out the best way to explain this, but you kind of get where I'm getting at. Like drinking like takes away like your actual thought process. I was actually able to handle situations like that, I would say better with like one or two shots in me than actually being sober, because sometimes I might overthink the situation.
Okay, so then take me to the thought process. Okay, you're sober now and you want to start another business. So did you just wake up one morning and say, "Hey Marcos, why don't we just go start another business?"
Yeah, no, it
Tell
sounds like a
so
stupid
take me into the thought process.
All right, so how did it start? So actually becoming sober was more, I knew that I always wanted to start a business. And there's a mentor named Sam Ovens who, as I'm learning from him, he's like, every time you drink alcohol, you're losing $100. And so basically, you're not actually losing physically $100. You kind of are, because if you're out drinking, you're spending money. But he's saying like every time you're spending like a second drinking alcohol, like an hour drinking alcohol, you're going to be losing $100. And when I heard that, I'm like, all right, one, this is not probably the best activity to be doing, because a multimillionaire was saying this. But the reason why I wanted to start a business is because I ultimately want like financial freedom. Like I said, I've started multiple businesses, but I've endured shiny object syndrome. I went through the nightlife, drinking, partying. There's no way I'm almost gonna say this. There's really no way you're gonna grow a business if you're just out there drinking alcohol. You're working a job and you're spending all your time drinking alcohol after the job. It's going to be very, very, very hard to start a business. And for me personally, it just didn't fit with me. Like drinking alcohol wasn't going to help me. But what made me want to start a business again is just like, I felt like that's something I've always wanted to do. But that drinking alcohol was something that I knew I needed to stop if I was going to actually make it in business. And I know I haven't seen like miraculous results right now. Like I'm not gonna see like it's kind of like the stock market. Like when you start investing money into the stock market, you're not gonna see amazing results right away. But you have to be persistent. And so like I'm in that persistent phase to where like I'm just gonna keep investing in myself, taking the daily actions that I need to take, and eventually the results will come if I'm doing the correct actions. So the reason I wanted to start the business is because I just know that working a job is not going to fulfill my lifestyle. And I know I'm meant for more. I know that something deep inside of me, there's more than just working a job.
Okay, so then let me, because I'm a big reader and we talked about it on the show. I'm a big knowledge guy, and I just got done reading Patrick Bet-David's new book. And something that he says, he's worth 9 figures. And even when he goes to conventions or when he goes to events, he'll have one drink and nurse it through the whole night, maybe not even drink half of it. He says, because if I'm drinking, I can't be absorbing everything that's going on around me. So have you noticed that also?
When I drink, I act like a wild, like I have a 15% Indian inside of my blood. So I'm like 15% Indian. When I drink, I act like a wild Indian. Just doing, I don't even because when I drink, I want to I don't see the point of just sitting around at your house, just drinking a sip of beer. Like I'd never found that. I actually only did that once where I ever sat down at my house and actually had like a sip of drink. Cause I don't see the point of just sitting around sipping drinks. But even one sip for me, maybe like in the far, far future, like 10 years from now, I might have a drink. Maybe that's still a big, big maybe, but like one drink for me would just cause a snowball to more drinks. Cause like I found that if I break a little bit and say like, oh, you deserve this one drink because you've been sober for 18 months, go out and celebrate with this one drink, or go out and cheers with this business owner. You deserve it because you got a client. If I break one little bit, I'm gonna break a lot, and I'm gonna go back to a snowball of drinking, and that's definitely not what I want. So I'm gonna say, for me personally, it's best for me to just not drink at all. And anyone out there, this is my biggest advice. If you want to start a business and you haven't been successful and you still find yourself drinking alcohol, cut it out. Cause that's one thing, that alcohol is just making you slower, stupid. It's not benefiting your life. I've made the dumbest decisions every time I drink alcohol. Literally the dumbest decisions ever.
All right. So let's talk about, like we said earlier, everybody wants to own a business until you got to do business owner shit. For me, business, it's like having a second wife. It's business. It's a job. I mean, I'm going on vacation on Sunday. I'm going to be in a cruise to the Bahamas. But my mind is still going to be, even though I'm trying to get out of business, my mind is still going to be on business. I'm still going to be making videos, making reels and stuff like that for when I get back. So either you're all in on business or you're not all in. And even like my friends on Shark Tank, like Brian, Mark Cuban, even if he says, if you're not 100% in on your business, nobody else is going to be either. So talk to us about what it's like to be a business owner and the sleepless nights, the checking your bank account incessantly, watching YouTube videos, trying to learn as much as you can. Talk about what it's like to start a business with zero and how hard it actually is.
I'm glad you asked this question because I know there's a lot of people out there who are probably in the same phase that I am right now, which is like you're working a job and you're trying to start a business. That's two things. You're working a job, and either you hate your job so much that you want to start a business, or two, you're working a job and you see that you could do better and make more money. So you have this idea to start a business. But the reality of it is for most people, business is going to be very, very hard. And like we were talking about earlier, like you're going to need massive amounts of discipline, because like for me, I'm just going to explain the phase that I'm in right now. So we'll just start with Monday. Monday, I work as a manager at my bar. I literally work from 7 p.m. to 4 a.m. Tuesday, I take a day off with my girlfriend, because I feel like if I don't at least spend one full day with my girlfriend, then we're not going to connect. You can't, like, it's kind of like my all-in day with her. Like, we get this one solid day together where we pretty much space everything out and we connect. I feel like that's important, especially if you want to keep your relationship while you're trying to do these things. So Wednesday, Thursday are my two primary business days. I know for sure these 2 days, which is like today's one of them, that I get to focus on business. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, all those days are pretty much dedicated to the bar. So it's definitely a grind. And I think what really like makes it so hard is like, you're not making enough money to quit your job. You actually just created yourself a problem. Like, by trying to start a business, you just created yourself multiple problems. And in order to leave your job, you have to figure out how to solve those problems, is what I'm realizing from mentors that I've talked to. And if you don't overcome those problems, then you will just go backwards in life. And I personally experienced going backwards in life multiple times, because not only did I chase shiny object syndrome, but I chose to go out and party and drink. And I watched other people, literally a hard lesson. I watched other agency owners who started with me in 2017 keep pushing, keep grinding. They stayed out of the nightlife. They listened to the mentor, and they are multimillionaires now. And that was a hard lesson for me to learn, like to watch. I'm like, yo, like if I would have just actually listened to my mentor during this time, I wouldn't even be in this position that I'm in right now. But it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard.
Well, the reason why I asked that is because when you decide to become a business owner, some of us can't afford to go to school, take classes, but some of us can have a bartending job. Some of us worked a desk at a GNC like I did, until one day I said, wait a minute. Or even in your case, somebody owns this bar. Or for me, it was somebody owns this GNC. How about if I go to them, say, listen, I would love to learn from you. Please teach me. I'll come in early. I'll stay late. I'll work for free. Teach me how to run your business so I can help you more. And then in your mind, you could be saying, as they're teaching me how to help them, they're going to teach me how to run a business. I was running a GNC until I said, Kumar, teach me how to run a business so one day you can retire and I can run it for you. He taught me the back of the house, writing checks, return on investment, how to pay bills, margins, and stuff like that. But I had to ask him. I had to say, listen, I want to help you. How can I help you? And can you teach me how to run a business? Most business owners are not going to say no. So talk to us about that. Sometimes it's just offering to help your manager at the job you're already in teach you how to become a business owner.
I wouldn't say I've had experience with that, but I do know I do management roles right now, and I do see like back of the house, front of the house, stuff like that. I've actually, and the reason why I say shiny object syndrome is like stay away from it at all costs is because I started off at the bar as literally at the lowest of the lowest, washing dishes as the bar back, the bottom. I've been there 3+ years, and I've rose up to literally one position under the general manager. And if I had done that in business, if I would just stuck with it, do the dirty work, do the sales calls, do the boring stuff like washing dishes. No one wants to wash dishes. No one wants to make sales calls. But like if you do the boring work, you can rise up to do the more interesting work. And it's just like a job is just like business. You stay there long enough and you put in the work and you're consistent, you'll rise up to the top. And that's what I've done in bartending, but not business. So I have to take that same lesson that I learned, that if I just stick with this long enough, you will start to see results. And a lot of people don't realize it because their business is like a big block of concrete and they're chiseling it every day. And they're like, every day they're hitting one piece out, and they're not like a week later, they still don't see nothing. They're like, man, I just see this big block of concrete. And then the next week they're chiseling more out of it. And then the next week, especially when you're doing it part-time, you're just taking little pieces out of this big concrete block. But if you look at it over a year, you'll see like, oh man, like I actually see this sculpture being built now. And so that's the way business is. You have to look at it like that. It's not going to be built like in one day. Like they say, Rome was not built in one day. So that's the way I look at it now. But for one, I don't want to ever own a bar. I actually look at alcohol. I don't want to encourage people to go drink alcohol. So I would never, even if I had the best opportunity in the world and I was given a bar, I still wouldn't own it because it just doesn't go with my values. So I don't have that opportunity that you had.
Okay, so then, let's talk about the boring stuff. Even in podcasting, there's a lot of boring shit. For me, this is the fun stuff. This is the conversations. That's the fun stuff. Looking up keywords, looking up hashtags, making graphics. That's the boring shit. But in order for me to do this, I have to do the boring shit.
Yep.
And, I'm 6 years in. I think we're at episode like 1260, going up close to 3 million downloads. If you Google me, the podcast, we're on the first 6 pages of Google, but it's all because of doing the small, boring thing. And if you notice, there's a lot of great players. I'm an NBA guy. I love the NBA. Tim Duncan is one of the greatest basketball players of all time. And they called him the big fundamental, even though he didn't do any fancy plays. Everything was boring, but fundamental, but he's got 6 championships. So, boring is sometimes good. Like you said, the shiny object syndrome, if you just stick with doing the right thing day after day, month after month, year after year, you're going to be successful. Just by doing the little thing. The little things are the stuff that matters. So, because a lot of people say, well, I want to become rich. Well, if you take care of your pennies, your dollars are going to take care of themselves.
I 100% agree.
So now you wanted to start a business, and there's thousands of businesses to start. What did you pick and why?
Great question. So I chose to go back to my marketing agency, and here's the reason why. There's a business owner, multi-million-dollar business owner named Dan Henry. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
Yes,
but
I do.
He has a business show where he roasts your business, and he'll bring you on there. You get to pitch him your business idea. It's kind of like Shark Tank. And I was able to fill an application out and go on his show. As I'm watching all his business roasts, there's one key lesson that I'm taking away from this is we want to, like I said, we want to chase shiny objects. I'm not going to lie. I want to chase shiny objects. Every time I see someone making money, even running this podcast, it makes it worse because I'm talking to so many people. Shiny objects are more like, I'm more aware of like different ways to make money from businesses. I'm talking to more entrepreneurs and stuff like that. So I was listening to Dan Henry and then also on his show. And the biggest thing he said was like, go back to what was working. And for me in 2017 to 2020, I wasn't really successful with I wasn't making millions, but I was making really close to 6 figures with a marketing agency. And I was very good at marketing, and I was very good at getting my clients results. But I had one problem, and that was shiny object syndrome. During the time of starting my marketing agency, I also tried to do drop shipping. I also tried to start a t-shirt store. I was also doing modeling. I was also like looking at every opportunity to make more money. And the reason is because a problem would arise in my business that I wasn't able to overcome. Instead of solving the problem or hiring a smarter person than me to solve the problem, I just went and changed business ideas. But I still kept my agency at the time, but I was just, now I went from 100% into my agency to now like 50%, because now I'm trying to start another business at the same time, and then 25%, and then 10%. And like I said, if you're not 100% in, then it's going to be hard to grow. Even now, not being 100% in because I'm working a job still makes it really frustrating for me, because I see that like it's going to take tons and tons of discipline, and I might not have as much time as other people. So back to your question, is I chose to go the marketing agency route, and I actually called my agency, is my name for my agency is Grandmaster Marketing. And the reason I called it that is because I know as a grandmaster, you need to be able to think really smart. And sometimes you might not be that grandmaster, but you can hire people smarter than you to help you make sure you're making the right moves. And so long term, I want to be the agency that helps other business owners, coaches, consultants make the right moves with their marketing and their business. So that's why I chose to go the marketing agency route.
Okay, so let's look at, and I'm doing an article tomorrow. I write articles for LinkedIn and Entrepreneur. I'm writing one tomorrow. The risks and rewards of artificial intelligence, and I'm writing that tomorrow. But the thing is, marketing has changed just in the last 6 months, and fortunately or unfortunately, if you're in the marketing game, you have to stay up on everything, and you have to be on the cusp of how things are changed. Sometimes, like when OpenAI and ChatGPT came on the scene, everything changed.
Yep.
The whole landscape of copywriting, the whole landscape of marketing changed. And if you're not on the wave, you're going to be under the wave. So
Correct.
Talk about how starting a business and how to be able to roll with the times.
To be able to roll with the times, I think you need to surround yourself with the right people. And that's exactly what I've done. There's a mentor that I work with right now named Jeremy Haynes. He was my mentor back in 2017. He stuck with exactly what he needed to do. He told me exactly what I needed to do in 2017. The thing is, I didn't listen to him. But I've recently repurchased back into his mentorship program. And the reason is because you have to stay up with the times. I know that like I'm super far behind. If I wanted to learn it myself, it would probably take me years. Or you could just surround yourself with the right people, and you can learn in literally half the amount of time. So for me, to handle like changing times, you just need to be surrounding yourself with the right people. And these people need to be not like they all need to be all in with learning, development, personal growth. I don't see AI as a threat. I think if you use it the right way, it's good. But if you use it the wrong way, then, or if you don't even use it at all, then you're just going to fall behind. And it will take people's jobs like 100%.
Okay, now I use AI, and I'm not afraid to say it. I use it every day, but I use it as a tool. I don't use it as a crutch. And a lot of people will say, well, why do you use AI? And then I'll say, well, when you go to a doctor, why do you check in with the physician's assistant?
Yeah.
When you go to the lawyer, why are you checking in with the secretary?
Yep.
AI is just my assistant. That's all it is. But I don't use it as a crutch. And I think that if you could incorporate humanity with AI, I think it's unbeatable in the next year or two.
No, I agree. And people say AI is going to take your job and stuff like that. If you don't change, it will take your job. But I think AI is still very, very far behind with like being super intelligent. Like it's not. I feel like it's smart, but it's not. It can't run your marketing for you. You're still going to need someone on your team who's dedicated to actually running and scaling your advertising. Like I don't think AI is capable of doing that just yet. In the future, possibly, but right now, I don't think so.
And like I tell everybody, if I give my cousin Pat, if I give him a finishing hammer and nails, he can make magic happen. If you give me a hammer, I'm just going to break shit. So a lot of AI is just how good your inputs actually are. And I think that's the differentiator between, using AI properly or using it like everybody else. But now let me ask you a question, because grandmaster marketing, in my opinion, and I did this for a reason. When I started my podcast, I didn't monetize it. For me and Gary Vaynerchuk put our heads together, and I didn't monetize it for the first 5 years because I wanted to. Once I said, "All right, guys, I got 2 million downloads. I'm on the first 6 or 8 pages of Google." That's my big flex. Or if somebody says, "Why should I sponsor you?" Google me. And when you see all the guests I've had on. So if I'm going to go to a person that has a bit and they're a brand new business owner and they say, well, whatever the name of the company is, I'm going to look at them. If you say you're the best, show me your client results. So for me, it was kind of like, how am I going to ask for 10, high 5 or 6 figures for a sponsor if I don't have anything quantitative behind our brand? That's why I wanted to wait till we had 2 million downloads and, all these big stars like Robert Kiyosaki, Sharon Lechter, David Meltzer, until those people were on the show, Graziosi and stuff like that. Then I could be able to say, okay, this is why you need to invest 10, 5, 6 figures with me. So what about you? What are you doing to create social proof? So when people say, well, you say you're the grandmaster, let me see what your clients are, what you're doing for your clients.
Yes, no, and I'm going to be 100% real. I have 0 clients right now. I'm just, like I said, I'm in the very beginning phases of getting started with my marketing agency, putting in the work. The reason so I think I'm going to frame your question. The reasons, or I'm going to make it into a statement. The reason why someone's going to hire me as their marketing and to work with them on their marketing is because I'm in the position that I'm in right now. So I know my business is called Grandmaster Marketing, but I currently don't have any client results. Long term, we are going to be the best in the game. Mark my words. But right now, the reason someone's going to hire me is because I'm far cheaper than paying an employee who's not motivated, who really doesn't care about marketing and growing their business. Not only that, I come skilled up. I come skilled up from one of the top trainers in the world, Jeremy Haynes, who's worked with people like Dan Locke, big names. I don't want to mention all the names he's worked with, but you can Google them if you want to. But the reason why they'll work with me is because I'm far less expensive than hiring an employee, and I am already skilled up, ready to grow their business. And yes, there's going to be a lot of learning still. I think you're learning no matter what, you're always going to be learning. So if you want this perfect marketing guy to work with you, that's perfect, you're going to get the perfect results. And unless you're ready to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars off the bat, then go ahead and hire that guy. But if you're not in that position to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you're also not in a position to waste money on an employee who probably doesn't really care about marketing in the first place, then you will hire me because I'm dedicated, hungry, and ready to help and learn and trained up, ready to help you with your marketing. So that's why people will hire me now. In the future, they're going to hire me because we will be the best in the game.
So then how do you, because a lot of this is a big problem with a lot of business owners, they hang out their shingle, like they used to say. They start their company, they have an LLC, and now they don't have any clients yet, and
Yep.
they have to go talk to the clients. So, and I don't like the word pitch. I never like the word pitch. I don't believe in it. It's either you're either creating value or you're not. So how do you go about talking to potential clients, trying to create value, and what are some of the reasons why they're not working with you yet?
So I think the reason why they're not working with me yet is because I haven't been in the game long enough. Like I said, I've been addicted to shiny object syndrome for the longest time. So that's one reason why I am not working with any clients right now. Two, I never really been niche. I was always general. So now I've actually moved more general. I could literally walk down the road, get a client like right now. I could probably walk down the street and be like, hey, let me run your marketing. I don't want to do that. I want to strictly work with coaches and consultants who are ready to scale with paid advertising, who have a traffic issue or who have a time issue where they would prefer to spend their time on other parts of their business. So that's moral of the story is like, I just need to stick in this long enough to get the clients. But what I'm doing right now to actually get the clients and connect with them and build a relationship is I built my podcast for that reason, so that I can not just be some guy sending you DMs on Instagram where I'm like, hey, like, let me run your marketing for you, because they get those every single day. I actually want to build a relationship with my ideal client, connect with them, learn more about their business, see what kind of values these people have. And if we share the same values and we connect well, I feel like if we have a good relationship, that's more that client will be a client forever, as long as we're getting them results and doing what we say we're going to do, versus just pitch the guy, try to get him on, and then it's just like hey, did you get me any results? Or hey, I got you some results here, like that kind of relationship. So what I'm doing is using my podcast for that.
And that's why we're here today, because you had me on your show and I'm having you on my show, and it's just creating an ecosystem where everybody is helping each other out. So talk to us about your podcast and talk to us a little bit about some of your beginning struggles of starting a podcast.
So YouTube is fun for me. That's the fun part for me. I've always loved YouTube and creating content for some reason. I just get like the biggest dopamine hit ever whenever it's almost like taking a shot of alcohol. It could be bad for me. YouTube, when I post content and you think you can get a lot of views and things like that, it just creates like a dopamine hit. But so creating the podcast honestly has been fun. It was a little struggle in the beginning because I always struggled with like communication and like, oh, am I going to be saying and aw, and like, am I going to ask the right questions, or like, how much research do I got to do on this person? Because I want to make sure I like do enough research to where like I know enough about this person to ask genuine questions. The biggest thing for me was getting multimillionaires on my podcast, because I didn't firmly believe that I could do it, because I didn't think a multimillionaire would want to talk to me, because I'm not at a multi-million-dollar level. And so that was one of the biggest beliefs and limiting beliefs that I've had to break. And since then, like, I didn't really break it. I just took action and it kind of broke itself. But I've had like several multimillionaires on my podcast, and I don't know. It's to me, creating the podcast has been the easy part. Getting the clients has been the hard part.
Okay, now I've had multi-millionaires on, billionaires on the show. As we talked about on your show, I'm a ninth grade dropout. But since I've started my show, I've had the best in the world on my show, from every aspect, from AI, from marketing, branding, you name it. I've had the top people on the show, and I'm pretty much getting a master's degree in business for free, because I just have them come on the show. Like, I couldn't afford to sit in front of David Meltzer or Sharon Lechter and Robert Kiyosaki for an hour, but I can have them come on my show for an hour, hour and a half, ask them whatever I want, and get all the answers for free, just because I have a platform.
Wait, question. You got Robert Kiyosaki on your podcast?
Sharon Lechter, David Meltzer, Steve D. Sims, the guy from Cobra Kai, the drummer for Def Leppard. So we've had a lot of people come on the show. But like I said, it's because you have a platform. You are social media. You actually have a platform. So you can pretty much, like when everything was coming out with the NFTs, I'm like, all right, who's the best in the world? Let me invite him to come on my show. He actually came and sat down for 2 hours talking about NFTs and crypto. But because I have a platform, I can do that. And now you have a platform. And then once all these multimillionaires, they hang out with other multimillionaires.
Yep.
So if they could say, hey, I was on Marco's show, why don't you get on Marco's show? Or what I've done is once I had Steve Smith, David Meltzer, Sharon Lechter, I would see who their millionaire friends were, and I'd be like, hey, Steve Sims was just on my show. I would love to have you to come on the show to promote your business. Now they're friends with Steve. Steve was just on the show. That just gave you instant credibility.
It does build your credibility. I'm not gonna lie. It really does build up your credibility.
And like for me, if I say Google me, you'll see 1,250 interviews on Google. So when somebody says, well, why should I come on your show? Well, David Meltzer was just here, billionaire, makes $20 billion a year. Steve Sims, Robert Kiyosaki, Sharon Lechter. How would you come on the show? And they're like, all right. And then I had John Lee Dumas on my show, the #1 business podcaster in the world. Then I get messages from Dean Graziosi saying what a great show it was. And so it just builds that way. So that's why I think it's great that you're shooting for the top, because a lot of people that start podcasts, they go for the low hanging fruit instead of going for the top.
I'm going both. I'm going for the low and the top at the same time, because even though I'm getting multi-millionaires on, I don't treat anyone at even lower than a multimillionaire any different than I treat everyone.
But if you get the high fruit, the low hanging fruit is going to come naturally.
Exactly, because it's all about taking, not taking the authority, but you get more credibility, like you were saying, and authority by having someone that they look up to on your podcast.
Yep, like me, if John Lee Dumas or Dean Graziosi says you need to listen to this podcast, I can say it 1,000 million times, but if they just say it once, all the credibility is there.
Yep.
So talk. What is the name of your podcast? How do we find it? And what is the reason behind the podcast? And what is it really about?
So my podcast, the hardest thing, honestly, I think people are going to struggle with when coming up with the podcast is the name. For some reason, we spend a lot of time coming up with the right name. For me, it took me, I would say, a good month to actually come up with a good name. And I just came up with this. It's called Conversations with 1%ers, because I know the people that I'm going to be conversating with have a 1% mentality. Either they're 1%ers already, or they want to become a 1%er, and they're doing personal development, trying everything that they can to get to the next level. So I called it Conversations with 1%ers, and it took me a while to actually come up with that name. I don't think anyone else has it, because I looked around, but I don't think anyone else has that name.
And I was on the show. I'm so grateful just to be able to be on the show. But now you've had plenty of amazing guests. I listen to your show. Every episode I listen to. What would be the one common denominator that each of them shown, if you went really back and think, wow, this is the main thing why they made it. This one, and this one. Because I find that all successful people have one or two traits all in common. So what do you think the one thing is?
I'm gonna say the one thing is 100% beliefs. Having the right belief system to push you forward. For instance, me, like, you're gonna have limiting beliefs in multiple areas of your life, and the ones, for instance, I just enrolled into a mentorship program, and as I was enrolling, the guy was talking to me, and he was telling me one of his beliefs. I believe that I really enrolled into this system or into this program for this one belief, which is doing. It's something I wrote it down. I don't want to look it up, but it's basically saying doing is better than perfect, and clarity
Yep.
comes in the doing. And the reason why they say that is because most people want to do everything perfect. So if you have this, like, say for instance, you're starting a podcast, but everything has to be perfect. Oh, I don't want to post this video because it's not perfect. Oh, I don't want to post this thumbnail because it's not perfect. Oh, I'm not exactly where like Dean Graziosi is, so I can't really post my content because I don't mine isn't as good as his. I'll post it whenever I get better. If you have that mentality, you're not gonna make it. So doing is better than being perfect, and clarity will become in the doing. That's honestly, I would take that and run with it, because even for me, like, even at the level I'm at, like, there's things that I want to be perfect. Like, I want to be a perfect marketing agency before I get a client. Like, if I operate that way, then I'm not going to ever get a client, because you're never going to be perfect, ever, 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 ever. Like, you'll never be perfect. Things are always going to be changing, and then you're going to have to learn something new. So I would say the biggest thing that I learned from pretty much everyone that I've had on my podcast is fixing your mindset.
And I love that. And I've got 3 of my clients. They're dropping their first podcast episodes this week, and all 3 of them have sponsors already before their first episode is even launched. And that was all because of the book, but it's also because, like you said, and I believe it, perfect inaction or unperfect action. I'll take unperfect action all the time. I'll take the quarterback that throws it downfield trying to get the Hail Mary, than the quarterback that just takes a sack and says, "Oh, well, I'm done." You know what I mean? Yep. So how do we go about finding your podcast, and how can we support your mission?
So you can find my podcast. It's on YouTube. I actually only have it on YouTube. I don't have it anywhere else. So you can find it. Most of my podcasts are going to be under videos. The rest of them will be under live videos. And you can find it by searching Marcos Garcia or Marcos the G, at Marcos THEG. So on there, I literally have every podcast on there. And honestly, that is probably the best place to follow me, because I think that's the only place I'm going to be posting them for a good while.
All right, guys. So make sure you check him out. And he's an amazing dude, and I love his podcast. I love you guys, and I will see you next week. Marco, brother, have a great week.
Appreciate it.
Be good.
You too.